Hi everybody, welcome to something a little bit different than what we usually do here at Hallowed Haven Studios. Tonight, I'm going to be giving a quick rundown of how to play Call to Adventure Epic Origins by Brotherwise Games. Call to Adventure is a game for up to 4 players, where each player will take control of a hero and shape their story from humble beginnings to their final confrontations with various villains by acquiring traits, performing heroic or perhaps not so heroic feats, and attempting challenges as dictated by the runes. While this version of the game is cooperative, there is still an element of competition as the heroes attempt to have the highest destiny score at the end of the game to become the greatest hero of their age. Now, the main focal point of the game is right down here. This is the character board. This is going to house a character's story. At the beginning of the game, every player is going to be dealt a number of cards that will kind of form the skeleton of their story, so to speak. They're going to be dealt one of these green cards, which represents their heritage. They will be dealt these black and bronze cards, which represent their origin. They would be dealt these blue and silver cards, which represent their class. And they would be dealt these red and gold cards, which represent their destiny. The heritage cards will give each hero a special ability that will activate when a specific result is rolled on the runes. The Origin card will give a passive ability that will last for the entire game, as well as giving a handful of abilities that will help the character solve challenges. The Class card does nothing at the start, however, a player can assign experience to it in order to give it various passive abilities that will also apply for the rest of the game. And the Destiny card will give bonus points at the end of the game based on specific criteria, but it is kept secret from all other players until the end. Now, the bulk of the game is going to involve these cards up here, which are separated into 3 acts. Each card is going to represent either a trait that a hero can gain, or a challenge that they must attempt to overcome. Down below, we also have these blue cards, which are feat cards. The cards on the right with the white triangle represent hero cards, while the cards on the left with the black triangle represent anti-hero cards. These cards can be played at various times and grant various benefits. However, the ability to play them is limited by the character's position on the corruption track. To acquire a trait card, all a player needs to do is declare their intent and pick up the trait card. They will then drag it over to their character board and place it under the corresponding card for the act that it represents, with this top part sticking out so that they can read it and see any symbols on it. Most trait cards will also have additional effects that will take place whenever the player gains them. Attempting a challenge is a bit different, as they must be overcome before they can be added to the hero's story. In order to attempt a challenge, like this one right here, the player must first decide which path they would like to attempt. In this case, they must attempt to solve the riddle or to rig the game. They must then cast the runes in an attempt to meet the challenge's difficulty, which is up there in the top left corner underneath the top path. Here on this one it says 3. In order to do that, the player will take these 3 core runes down here, the white ones, as well as any of the ability runes, which is the rest of these. In this case, the challenge allows for either intelligence, which is the blue runes, or charisma, which is the purple runes. Using the example we've got built down here of our little human villager barbarian, they would get the 3 core runes, and then 1 charisma rune. They'll then roll them like they would dice, and the result will depend on how many successes they roll. For example, if they were attempting to solve the riddle, they would need 3 successes. However, if they were attempting to rig the game, as it has that +1 right there, they would need 4. After casting the runes, you'll look at the results, and you will compare the number of successes to the difficulty. Each of the slashes right here is worth a single success, whereas all of these symbols are worth 2. Any other symbols you see or blank runes are worth nothing. If the number of successes rolled meets or exceeds the challenge's difficulty, then the player adds the challenge to their character board in the corresponding section with either the top or bottom visible, depending on the path they chose. In this case, if we had chosen the top path and tried to solve the riddle, we would have taken this and we would put it so the top path is exposed. However, if a challenge is attempted and it does not meet the number of successes required, the challenge is failed, resulting in it being discarded. However, the hero that attempted it does gain 1 experience to represent them learning from their failures. Challenges and traits all have various symbols on them. 6 of them will correspond to the various abilities and will add runes to relevant challenges. The black symbols in the white squares are story icons and can give bonus points at the end if you collect multiples of a single one. The blue symbols with either the white or black triangle represent drawing a hero or anti-hero card, and certain cards will have a black or white diamond on them, which represent triumph or tragedy. These are both worth destiny points at the end of the game. Once a player has placed 3 story cards under their character card for a given act, they are considered to have completed that act and can no longer add cards of that act to their story. The first player to complete an act will flip all cards in the next act or on their next turn, and following that, all players may add cards from the newly revealed act whether they have completed the previous act or not. When one player has completed Act 3, all other players will get one final turn before the game ends. Or at least, that's how it works in a normal game. Unfortunately, the heroes are competing not only with each other, but also with an adversary. At the beginning of the game, a number of experience tokens will be placed on the adversary based on the number of players. During play, a number of things can add or remove these experience tokens from the adversary. In this case, with the Dark Lord's Consort, it will gain an experience anytime a hero gains a corruption, and it will lose an experience anytime a hero gains a purity. Throughout the course of the game, the adversary will attempt to block the hero's progress through the use of their own special feat cards, which are these cards with the skull next to it. Anytime a hero is attempting a challenge and rolls the Twist of Fate rune, one of these will automatically be played and will impact that hero for the remainder of that challenge. After a hero has completed Act 2, they have to face the adversary on their next turn. Adversaries, like regular challenges, have a difficulty, and each success past this difficulty will remove experience from the adversary. Once each hero has faced the adversary, the card is flipped over to reveal the final adversary, who must be faced at the end of the game and gains an additional ability. Once a player has completed Act 3, they will face the final adversary on their next turn, and every other player must also face the final adversary following that turn, whether they have finished Act 3 or not. As with the initial adversary, successes beyond the difficulty will remove experience from the card. Once all players have faced the final adversary, the game comes to a close. If there is even a single experience token left on the adversary, then the heroes lose. Otherwise, all heroes tally up their destiny score, and whoever has the highest score is considered to be the greatest hero. Will our heroes push their adversary back, or will they be added to their list of victims? At the end of the story, will they even still be heroes? We'll find out when they accept the call to adventure.